I'm interested in your 2026 team. You're 2 years removed from a state title.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your upcoming team and what we should expect moving forward with the corner baseball program.
This team made up of we've got a larger senior class similar to the 2024 team. There's 8 of those guys as far as seniors go. And then we've kind of got a big freshman class. So they kind of make the bookends of our team. We've got 26 total guys. And we're looking ahead to probably have some youth in some areas. But of those, of the 26 guys, I think we have, several that can definitely, help us push to hopefully get back to, making a run at another one. We did move up to 5A last year, and then this year. So that's an obstacle, but we were 5A before we won it in 4A, and have competed at that level and kind of know what it takes to get there. So, I've got 3 really good frontline arms that I think in a playoff situation can give us 5+ innings each time they go out, and hopefully we can string some hits together around them and play some good defense and hopefully make another run at one. So,
y'all have got some. We're sitting here in the library, but y'all have got incredible facilities.
We do.
How much of a blessing is that for you to be able to play in such a great environment?
Well, you're exactly right. Being from here, I went to our school down the road, as you know, and to say that this school is a little bit different than what school was like when I graduated is definitely true. We're very, very fortunate with what we have here. We have an incredible weight room, turf football field. Our playing surface, as far as baseball goes, I'm a purist as it comes to baseball. I love a natural surface, even on those days where it's out there whipping me and I'm trying to get it in shape. But when it looks good, I would put ours up against anybody's as far as just infield play and a true roll of the balls in the outfield and stuff. But yeah, not to mention our basketball gymnasium is as big as probably most colleges.
Everything is just first class around here.
We try to keep it that way. I know our administration and our athletic directors, they try to push us to, that's what we want to be. We want to be first class in everything we do. So.
Yeah. Now, I was the assistant baseball coach here. I was Billy Connor's assistant basketball coach, but I was also the assistant baseball coach under Jason Adcock.
Right.
And I just remember there was a field that we went to. Where was the baseball field? And then there was another little field, right, that we practiced at. Where was that?
That was at our community park.
Okay.
And that's where I played high school.
Okay.
That's where I played park baseball. That's where I played high school baseball.
Yeah.
So we would leave during what was 4th block then and travel 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the road.
Yeah,
to the community
that's right.
park
That's right.
and
Yeah.
all convoy in. Most of the time changing in the parking lot for practice. And then we would go get practice started on our high school field, or our middle school played there as well. So.
I think Josh was a senior when I was coaching the JV, but I think Josh was a senior.
Yeah, I think he was a junior.
Okay. Did he graduate in 2002? Is that when
He graduated in 2004.
2004.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he was probably a junior.
Yeah.
I think he was on the varsity when I was coaching the JV.
He would have been. Yes.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you get here in 2018, right? Is that right?
Yeah. I came back as an assistant first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, but when you become a head coach, at any program, how do you establish your baseball culture?
I think, when you kind of go from being the assistant coach, who was kind of also the players coach, there's a lot of times that, as a head coach, you got to kind of be bad cop, and your assistant coaches normally play off of that to be good cop. And when Josh and I worked together, a lot of days he had to be bad cop, so I had to be good cop. And then, when that changes, and now you got to put on bad cop hat, and it's, you got to get, down to the strictly business and stuff. You really figure out what what principles, you're going to stand firm on as far as, how we expect our players to look, how we expect our players to, be in the community, how we expect our players to be in the classroom, obviously, how we treat others, all those intangibles that really don't have anything to do with winning and losing, but they have a great outcome in the makeup of a player or the makeup of a man, really. So, and some of that stuff carried over from working with Josh. He and I are both on the same page that, at the end of the day, I want to create good men. Mm-hmm. And we had good coaches before us that wanted to do the same thing. So I think, that's something that we both took with us from playing here for good people. And, that's something that I still, strive to do every day with these guys. Because they're not all going to be professional baseball players. We know that. Most probably aren't going to play college ball. But most are going to have to go work a job. Hopefully most are going to get married. Hopefully most are going to be dads someday. So if we can have a positive impact on that, that's a win.
Did you have to work the halls a lot to get players to come be a part of your program, or was that already kind of baked in for you?
Luckily, like the culture here was kind of already established. I think Josh did some great things here, establishing a culture of talking about winning and winning at a high level. Not to say that it wasn't talked about when he and I played here. We've just, you had teams that, or had years that you would kind of put it together and make a second or third round playoff run. And then you may hit a little period where you win your area or you're the runner up in your area and you may have a first round exit, in the playoffs. And when he got here, winning state championship was talked about a lot, and he was a believer, and I am too. If you don't talk about it, nobody believes you can do it. And that's one thing that, he kind of came in and started, the chatter about, what is our end goal? And, it kind of carried over when I took over. And then obviously we were fortunate enough to speak one into his existence and go on and win it. So
what will you remember from that state title run?
Man, there's several different key things there that stick out. The first one being not necessarily self-doubt. I never doubted my guys. Obviously, in that situation, as a coach, you go down. We went down the first game, and we played early, so we have all this time before it's kind of time to go back to the hotel and shower and get them fed, and so you have a lot of time to reflect. And I remember thinking, and what's it going to be like if I've, not me, we've worked so hard and got here and then, go 0-2. And my whole thought the next day was like, we just got to figure out a way to win the first one. If we can figure out a way to win the first one, there's no way they match up against us in 3 games. So we fought and clawed in game 2. Had the lead, lost the lead, and then ended up walking it off in the 7th. And then from first pitch of game 3, it was like all that, like I said, not doubt. There's never any doubt about guys getting things done. Just like, I wanted it so bad for Corner and our community and obviously our players. But then, like I said, from the time game 3 started, that was as relaxed and probably even keel as I've been in any game I've ever.
And this is against American Christian.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how the ups and downs of it. Like, you come in game 1 and don't play great. Probably play good enough to win, but on that stage you can't make mistakes. And we made a few mistakes, and then in game 2, had the lead, like I said, and then let it go, and then figured out a way to get it back when it counted. And then in game 3, I felt like I wanted to start game 3 as soon as we touched home plate and finished game 2. I wanted to keep going. Let's just go ahead and start it.
Yeah.
So that feeling, and then man, I'm trying not to get emotional. When we dogpiled or whatever, I just kind of took a moment to just thank God.
Yeah.
Because it was a very surreal moment.
Yeah.
So
what's amazing to me is I was looking at, I think it was like one of your profiles or something. You went from an HVAC technician.
Yeah. I thought I was going to do that for a little bit. I did.
You went from an HVAC technician to winning a state championship. And I think that's where some of the emotion is coming from, is like, man, obviously.
Yeah, originally I was not going to do this.
Yeah. How good God has been to me, through that journey.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just amazing. I mean, to be able to not only, coach at the place that you played, but take that team to win a state title. That's incredible.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, it's almost storybook.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
Just the whole journey of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. What are some things that you learned? I look back at my odd, career and I'm very unconventional. I look at every step along the way and I think, wow, the Lord was really teaching me something there. So when you think about the HVAC technician job and being at Oakman and just, the different things that you've done leading up to corner, what are some things that you took along the way to prepare you for what you're doing now?
Man, wow, what a question. Being here, I always, I love it here. I knew I wanted to be around here and live here. I live right down the road. But when I got out of high school, I really didn't know what path I was going to take. I took some classes at Bevel and thought I was going to go the business route, and then got out of school completely as far as the educational side of it, went vocational or went to learn a trade. My dad was a tradesman, so I knew that blue-collar side of making a living. I was working for the company he worked for he worked there for 40 years. So he got me kind of in line for a job there. And at first I loved it, making great money for a 20-year-old kid that didn't have any bills and was living at home still. I mean, it was great. But it was just like something was missing. And it's funny, like we talk about God, man, how God works. My brother had just recently graduated from Jacksonville State, and he was at Springville as their JV coach, and then had a chance to come back to corner, and he took over the middle school program, and he needed help, and he said, "Man, just come out here." I was going on a year that I'd been with the construction company I was working for, and he was like, "Just come out here and be around it, see if you enjoy it." And I got out there, and we're talking about coaching, 12 and 13-year-olds, some 14-year-olds or whatnot. And instantly I knew, like, this is what I want to do. So then it was like, okay, how do we start this process? So I obviously had to get back in school, and that was a whole process because I didn't want to miss out on coaching opportunities because I needed the experience there. So I prolonged my I guess college to where it took way longer than it should have to get a undergrad in education, which that's hats off to my parents for taking care of me there. And then I volunteer coached here the whole time, and then graduated in December. And then there was another God thing. There was a job opened up at our middle school.
Yeah.
So I went there in the middle of the year, which never happens. You never get hired in the middle of the year. Helped a guy named Justin Little, coached the baseball team there that year, and then a job at Oakman opened that spring, and I left. And created some great relationships at Oakman. Still talk to a lot of those players and a lot of folks from Oakman, and loved my time there. And then there was an opportunity to come here.
Yeah.
And I knew those doors don't open much. And here I am. So, but I guess to answer your question, I mean, obviously the biggest thing with the construction part of things was getting up and going to work every day, regardless of if you felt like it or not. Like you had to, you were going to get up and go, because even in that job, like you had guys depending on you, deadlines to meet and things that you needed to get accomplished. And then going back to college, kind of growing up a little bit and knowing what you wanted to do, and setting your mind to, doing whatever it took to get there. And then going from being a volunteer assistant to being a head coach within about 6 months, you learn a lot. You learn a lot of the management part of it as far as wants versus needs for your program. I mean, obviously as coaches, we want all kinds of things for our kids, but kind of prioritizing things and making sure that, we are giving the best things or are getting the best things we can for our guys, and kind of prioritizing that. So just management would be one. Managing people. I mean, when I say that, as far as relationships with parents and Booster Club, and obviously the players and administration, everybody involved. So, I feel like I've developed several good skills along the way, from working in construction to going back to college, and then obviously being here. So,
excuse me. How old were you when you got the open job?
So let's see. Let me do some math here. 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you tougher on those guys?
I just got married.
Were you tougher on those guys than you are this group at corner? Is it about the same? Have you leveled out a little bit? I think
I've probably leveled out a little bit. That year, that year at Oakman, I was probably didn't pick my battles on some things that I probably would have now. And those kids were tough as nails, though. Like I could, I mean, a lot of them fed off of it. They wanted, they wanted it to be tough, and they played hard.
I think you come in hot when you're younger.
Yeah.
You come in real hot, and then you kind of level out a little. Yeah.
And like I said, you kind of start picking your battles, I guess is the term. But, you're going to have those things that are non-negotiable. But like yesterday, for instance, it was about 27 degrees here yesterday, and we got out and got something accomplished. But 26-year-old Coach Hoyle would have been like, "No, it's full practice. Like it's cold. We're not going to let it bother us." It was pretty rough yesterday. So we did the smart thing and took care of our guys as far as didn't make them get out in it too much. So.
You mentioned self-doubt. I thought that was a very interesting point that you mentioned. And when I started coaching, I dealt with that personally because I had been removed from basketball for a few years, and I didn't have, my mentor from a college standpoint had passed away. Coach Clem passed away very unexpectedly in 1996, and I probably didn't seek out some of those guys to mentor me like I needed to. So for you, who are some guys along the way that have mentored you in baseball that gave you that confidence that, hey, we're doing things the right way?
Well, I played for two different guys here at corner. Andy Davis came in when Josh would have been a senior, so I was in 8th grade, and then he coached me the next 3 years till I was a senior. He left after our junior season. Well, he was from Mississippi, so he went back home to be closer to his family. He's had a great amount of success over there. He's at a high school called Summerall High School, and they're a dominant baseball program. Seeing the relationship, knowing the relationship that he and I had as a player, kind of emulated how I wanted to be with players. And then my senior year, a guy named Shane Chappell came in and was the coach my senior year, who was also a corner grad. And we still have a great relationship. But Coach Chappell came in and changed some things as far as just I would say the toughness of it. I would say things got a little bit harder, to where kind of showing me as a player, and then obviously relating back to it as a coach. Some of the mental toughness stuff, like you can get through it, not in any conditioning way, but just getting a job done when your team needs you to, whether it be a bunt down or executing a hit and run or whatever. Like having that mental toughness to where you don't self-doubt. Mm-hmm. Those two were two guys that I still talk to Coach Chappell, probably once every 6 months. I normally run into Coach Davis at a coaching clinic or something, and he and I catch up. But honestly, the other one that I probably look up to a lot, who was a great baseball player and was actually a baseball coach here for a short time, would be Coach Connor, Coach Billy Connor. Just the man that he is, just things. Back to those relationships, like I'm talking about, like he and I had such a good relationship when I was a player here, and I didn't ever play basketball for him. I played 1 year, a middle school basketball, and figured out I was not a basketball guy. Wasn't coordinated enough, I guess. But I played football, and Coach Connor was our DB coach, and he and I had a great relationship. And then when I started coaching, volunteering here, and then got hired here, he and I coached together. So we've had a lot of good years together. I just know what Coach Connor stands for, and if you talk to previous players, I don't know many that would have a bad thing to say about Coach Connor.
You're 100% right, because as I mentioned, I was his assistant here, and I just remember he had such a great relationship with his players. That bunch with Ryan Tingle and Michael Rice and that group that came through. Yeah. It was a great group of kids. Yeah. Cameron Mitchell was another one. I could go on, but that group that came through, he showed me what it was like to have a relationship with your players.
Well, and I think there's something to be said for that, and I try to do that as well. Biggest thing is letting them know you care.
Yeah.
If you got a coach that comes in and we call it transactional versus transformational.
Yeah.
Transactional being, hey, what can you help me accomplish, or what can you do for me? Or transformational is, hey, what can I help you accomplish as far as your journey is growing up and being a man, being a dad, being a father, like we've talked about. So I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And Coach Connor. Coach Connor was definitely a transformational coach.
Yeah, no doubt.
He coached hard, nonetheless, and motivated people. But I think he had a lot of motivation in players because they wanted to please him. I wanted to please him, playing in the secondary for him. So I know those guys on the court did as well. The ones that he spent, hours with, in basketball. So yeah, Coach Connor definitely had a huge impact on what I am as far as a coach.
Obviously you can't win without great players, and you guys have had a number of them coming through. Obviously the first person I think of is Colin Daniel, who just got drafted by the Braves, and but I think about guys like Brendan Connor, Eli Cannon, who is a former 78 magazine, cover model. But so talk a little bit about those guys and some other guys that have been impact players for you.
Well, you're 100% correct. Most good coaches tell you what makes good coaches, and that's a lot of it is they've had really good players. And I've been fortunate and had a lot of good players here. And Josh had good players here. We've had a lot of good players here in the last 10 to 12 years. You talking about Colin? Just a guy that you knew at a young age that kid was going to be special. His older brother played here, has helped me coach. Went on to play at UNA. Had a small, spent some time in JUCO at MMI, and then ended up at UNA. Had a good career there, and he was a great player here. So talking about Colin was always around because Devin, his older brother, played here. So we all, when we were coaching Devin, we could see Colin. Colin was in a batting cage somewhere at every field, and most of the time he had found somebody to throw to him, and he was absolutely hammering baseballs at that young man. Or it was that kid's turn to get in and hit, and Colin was absolutely carving him up in the cage. So, like I said, I knew, and Josh knew as well, that Colin Daniel was going to do special things as far as baseball goes at a young age, and I hope it pans out for him. And he gets to play, man, as long as he can, because you talk about a guy that's worked. And we've had several guys that, as far as the grind of, making it to college and then hopefully succeeding past that. Sam Knowlton is another guy that played here that's still in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. And he's actually kind of been on campus a little bit with us, just kind of throwing and working out and whatnot. So I'm pulling for him as well. And then, we have several guys in college right now. Sam Hill being the most recent one. He's at Gadsden State. And then Brody Dunlap is actually there with him. Both of those guys I expect to have a good year. And then over at Wallace State, we have Eli Cannon, who you just talked about. And Cole Raspberry, who's there. Two dudes, all those guys are just guys that you wanted to go to war with. And I hope that it pans out for them, and they get to continue to play, as far as they want to. And then Brendan, Brendan's still at UAB. He had a fabulous year last year. Man, I don't know what his ERA and stuff was, but I know there were several times he came out of the bullpen in a relief situation and just absolutely slammed the door. And he was fun to watch. So I know Coach Dunn at UAB has been tickled with Brendan, and Brendan's got that trait like all those guys do, as far as when it comes time to work, like they're going to work. So we've been very fortunate as far as players go. We've had several good players come through here, and obviously, make it and go on and play college ball.
Yeah.
So
I want to talk philosophy for a minute, because I'm kind of back into it a little bit myself. I'm coaching my 7-year-old and trying to relearn the game and understand the complexities of it. And you're more of an old school guy, more of a traditionalist. So when you talk about hitting approach, what are some of the principles that you teach to your kids?
I think less is more with hitting, and what I mean by that. A lot of times guys want to get big, is what we say. When you lengthen your swing, you take that bigger load, and then obviously the stride and whatnot. I think the less movement, the less complications, the better off you're going to be as a hitter. I try to tell my guys we want to use the middle of the field. That's kind of our approach of like where we want to hit the baseball. My guys probably get so tired of hearing me say, "Hey, stay in the middle. Like, stay in the middle," because you'll get guys that pull off, or they'll get so far out front that they don't have anything behind it, to where they don't have a choice but to kind of punch one over towards the right side. So, I try to teach them to stay in the middle, gap to gap, and if you can hit a ball under the lights, gap to gap, you're probably going to be in good shape. So the biggest thing now, there's so much out there as far as different approach and technique as far as hitting goes. I'm sure you've heard the term launch angle and exit velocity, and I think there's a place for that with the exit velocity and all the analytics of it. But in high school baseball, you can lift them and get them in the weight room and really try to develop them strength-wise. At the end of the day, your hand's kind of dealt with the strength that they have naturally, because the exit velocity and the launch angle stuff, we're talking about best hitters in the world, the Aaron Judges, those type guys that are so strong that the physicality of it comes into play, to where Aaron Judge can hit it at such a steep launch angle to where he's got the strength to get it out of there, to where I need guys more traditionally downward angle on plane through the zone and create natural backspin and hopefully hitting balls in the gap or if they're, physical enough that they can hit them out. That's what we like. So,
baseball is such a mental game, man, and it's a game of failure. So how do you instill confidence in a hitter? I think that's so important is when you're up at the plate to be confident, to believe that you're going to have success. So what are the ways that you as a coach instill confidence in your players?
Well, I think a lot of times, and we do this with our players. First of all, they've got to go up there with an attainable goal. And we talk about this all the time. Getting a hit is not an attainable goal. You like you just said, baseball is a game of failure. Like, you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. So I don't want them to go up there with a goal that I know that they can't really accomplish. So we've changed some things over the, I've been this way. Josh is also this way. We want to have a quality at bat. And there's, several different ways that we can attain that goal that don't even involve getting a hit. Because, that's everybody's natural goal is to get a hit. We all want to get a hit. But we can also draw a walk. We can get on by error, drive a guy in, as far as RBI. Have a 7-pitch at bat that results in not getting on base. It's still a quality at bat. So I think painting the picture for them of, like, guys, I'm not expecting you to go up there and get a hit every time. I'm expecting you to go up there and have a quality at bat that helps your team. So I think when you change the mindset of hitting, the confidence comes with it. Because like I said, like we were just talking about, the best in the game, they get out. You're going to get out. So setting up kids at a young age